Hello and welcome to another episode, and today I thought it'd be fun. A lot of the YouTubers and YouTube channels that I watch have been throwing this idea around and doing videos around it. So I decided it'd be time to join in the fun of this idea. And that idea is picking, for me personally, I'm picking the top 5 games that people love that I don't. These are 5 very popular video games that critically were successful, commercially for the most part were successful, that everybody just seems to love, and I just either don't get it or I just didn't enjoy them. So, and it doesn't mean that these games are necessarily bad, that just means that I personally didn't care for these games. There's going to be games on this list that you probably love, and that's fine. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. These are just my personal opinions. These are not really in any kind of order except for the very first, number 1. The rest of them aren't really in an order per se. So we're going to go ahead and start with number 5. So number 5 on this list is going to be World of Warcraft. I'm sorry guys, the bug never hit me. I just could never get into it. You know, it hit when I was a senior in high school, and I had a group of friends that got into it. For me personally, I played Guild Wars. I was a Guild Wars guy. And the reason I didn't like World of Warcraft mainly was I didn't want to pay $15 a month for one game. It just seemed kind of preposterous to me, and that's always been my mentality with MMOs. I don't want to pay a $15 a month fee because then I feel like I need to sit down and get my $15 a month worth out of it. That goes back through a lot of games. There's been a lot of MMOs that I've skipped for that reason, but World of Warcraft, I tried it. Don't get me wrong, it's not like I never played it. I tried it. I tried a 2-week trial of the game with a buddy who was just super into it and bothering me all the time. Hey man, you gotta play this game. Come on, come join me and play the game. And this would have been back in 2007, so this was about 10 years ago, and World of Warcraft was kind of hitting its peak at this point. You know, World of Warcraft was insanely popular, and I tried it, I just didn't like it. I just couldn't get into it. I didn't see what all the fuss was about. I understood the idea of like, hey, everybody's here and they're hanging out in like a virtual world, but I wanted to play other video games, you know? Like, I don't know, it was also, for me, it was after I'd already had my PC renaissance, so I was wanting to play console games, man. I was fully invested in the Xbox 360 at this point. I didn't want to be tied to a computer, so for me, World of Warcraft number 5, I just don't get it. Never bit me, was never my thing. Sorry guys, just didn't care for it. Number 4 on this list is going to be one that, you know, obviously a lot of them, all 5 of these I'm going to get some sort of hate and people are going to be like, you're a moron because you don't like this, but number 4 on my list is going to be Journey, the PlayStation 3 exclusive from 2012 I think? Could have been 2013. I don't know, like, I've played that game company's other games. I've played Flower, I've played Flow, and Journey for me, I just didn't get it. And then that was the problem. Like, everybody was like, oh, it's the greatest game I've ever played. It's so different than anything else you've played. And for me, I just look at it as it's a fun 2-hour distraction. And it definitely has great music. It has, you know, great visuals. It's a very artsy game, and that's cool. I just didn't like it. At the end of it, I was like, whatever. Like, I played it and moved on. And I hear about these people that have played through this game like 10 and 12 times and all this stuff, and for me, it's just, I don't care. I just never cared. It just never hit me in a way that it seemed to hit everybody else, and everybody was like, Journey's the greatest thing I've ever played. For me, I played it once, didn't really care to ever play it again. That's me. Sorry guys, that's number 4. Number 3 on this list is actually going to be a game, one of the first games that I ever reserved as a kid. And I was super excited for this game. I could not wait to play this game. And I got it, I sat down, it was, what was this, early December 2000, you know, and this was at a point where I hadn't got my PS2 yet. I didn't get a PS2 at launch. I got it February of 2001. It was sold out. Everybody, it was the hot item for Christmas in 2000. So this was kind of like my consolation prize of like, well, I didn't get the PS2, so I have this game to play. And I just thought it sucked. And it's beloved by everyone. And that is Final Fantasy IX. I was a huge fan of Final Fantasy. Obviously, I really jumped into the role-playing genre with the PS1 and Final Fantasy VII and all those other great PlayStation 1 role-playing games that came out in that generation. What a fantastic generation for role-playing games. But Final Fantasy IX, I was really eagerly anticipating. You know, we just came off of Final Fantasy VII, which is one of the greatest games of all time. You have Final Fantasy VIII, which I loved. It's honestly, after 7, which I know is the stereotype of picking your favorite Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy VIII is my second favorite Final Fantasy of all time. What a great game. So I was pumped for this. I was pumped for the fact that it was the return to, you know, the roots of Final Fantasy. They were bringing back black mages and white mages and all this other classic stuff. I was really into this game. I thought it looked absolutely gorgeous. I liked that the characters were not the same looking as they were in 7 and 8. They were kind of going back to the more fantasy element of Final Fantasy. It wasn't as realistic as Final Fantasy 7 and Final Fantasy 8. I hated it. You know, I got home, I sat down, I played like 3 straight hours of it, and I just couldn't get into it. And I don't even think I finished the first disc as a kid. I just couldn't get into it. I didn't connect with the characters, with the story. Something just was off to me about it. And it was one of my biggest disappointments as a kid. I was so pumped for this game. And besides, there's one game I put higher on this list, and it's actually my number 1, which we'll get to. But this game, I just couldn't get into it. I recently tried to play this game for the first time in about 16 years last summer of 2016 on my Vita. I purchased the Vita version of it, and I tried to play through it. Still couldn't get into it. And I'm gonna be honest, I recently just purchased this past week the Final Fantasy IX re-release on PS4 because I want to try and get into this game again. I really want to try to love this game, but every time I try to play it, I just can't get into it, and it's, for some reason, it just doesn't connect with me. However, I think that the PlayStation 4 version might be a little easier for me to swallow because you can speed up the battles, you can turn active battles off, you can do all that fun shit like you could in the PS4 version of Final Fantasy VII that was released a couple years ago. Now, where's my Final Fantasy VIII re-release for PS4? Come on, let's do it. So that's number 3. Number 2 on this list I actually just pulled off my shelf. This was a game, I've had this game in my collection. It's been almost 10 years I've owned this game. It's just crazy to think about. This is another game I pre-ordered day 1, was super excited. This is an Xbox 360 game. It also came out on PS3. You can also get it on PC as well. And that is Grand Theft Auto 4, which I have in my hand right here. GTA 4, I'll preface this by saying GTA 4 isn't a bad game. I just think it's a bad Grand Theft Auto game. I don't know if you're going to remember this like I remember, but the first day that Rockstar put out the trailer for Grand Theft Auto 4, the internet broke for like an hour. People were flooding to that Rockstar website to watch the first trailer for this game. This was a massive deal. I was so excited for this game, and I had saved up a bunch of vacation time at the time I was working for Target, and I had all this vacation time, and I literally took an entire week off, paid vacation, to play Grand Theft Auto 4. I could not wait to play this game. I was so disappointed in this game. The driving is terrible in this game. The shooting mechanics are okay, but it's not as good. The story of Nico Bellic, it's just not interesting to me. Like, he's not a character you could connect with as much as you could connect with some of the PS2 era, you know, characters. Like, obviously, not really the GTA 3 character wasn't really something you connect with, but Tommy Vercetti of GTA Vice City and CJ from Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Adding to all that, you had the ridiculous part of the game where, you know, you had all these contacts that were calling you. Your cousin's calling you constantly, wanting to go bowling. Like, who cares, man? It just, the driving mechanics were bad, shooting wasn't too great. The only thing this game introduced that I thought was really good, and then it was heavily implemented in GTA 5, is their online service. It was incredibly fun to load that game up with, you know, up to 16 people and just dick around in Liberty City. That was really well done. I had more fun with that than I did the actual game itself. And obviously Grand Theft Auto 5 has its own separate component that is just GTA Online. So, to wrap this one up, GTA 4, I just was very disappointed in it. I don't hate Grand Theft Auto 4, I just actively dislike it. I just was so disappointed after waiting so long for the next part of this franchise, and this is what we got. Thankfully, they redeemed it with GTA 5, which is one of the best, if not the best, Grand Theft Auto game of all time. So, you know, there's a redeeming end to that story. And finally, number 1, my most disliked most disappointing game I've played that everybody loves and I just don't is The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I hate this game. I'm sorry. You know, some of these games I hate, some of them I don't, but this game in particular, I hate it. I hate the story. I hate the idea of having this time limit at all times. It seems like this weird experiment for a Zelda game that someone at Nintendo was like, yeah, cool, let's just put that out. And it was rushed out the door. I just didn't get it as a kid. I still don't get it. And people love this game. This game is touted as one of the greatest games of all time. And I just don't like it. I couldn't get into it. You know, this game was the second game I had ever pre-ordered in my entire life. The first was Perfect Dark for the Nintendo 64, and I could not wait. This was a sequel to Ocarina of Time, a game that I loved. The Ocarina of Time was a game of my childhood, man. So I was pumped for Majora's Mask. I could not wait to get my hands on this game. I saved up my hard-earned allowance money to get Majora's Mask as a kid. And I can never remember sitting down, you know, opening the case, sitting down to play it, and just being disappointed the entire time. I think I ended up trading it in. I hated it that much. And that took a lot for me. And I remember my parents, specifically my dad, asking me several times, like, are you sure you want to do this? You're going to lose X amount of money doing that. And I remember telling him, like, I hate this game. I don't care. I'd rather get something I like. So those are my top 5 games that people love that I just don't. You know, some of them I hate, some of them I just actively dislike, and one I really, really despise. So I'd be interested to see, you know, put down in the comments below, what are games that everybody loves that you dislike? You know, this is a fun topic to explore, and I thought it was an interesting one. I saw it being done with movies, I've seen some people doing it with video games, and I decided I wanted to join in the fun and have this conversation as well. I think it's an interesting topic. So leave a comment in the comment section below, tell me what you guys think. Don't blast me in the comments, you know, this is just my opinion. These are games that I just personally don't like, and just because I don't like them doesn't necessarily mean that they're bad games. I didn't get them. Maybe you guys do. Anyways, guys, as always, until next time.